What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. It's a very special day because we get to welcome back to Volleyball Source a good friend of ours and a very special guest. It is three-time Olympian, two-time Olympic bronze medalist, Libero from the United States men's national team, Mr. Erik Shoji. Welcome back to the show, my friend.
What's up, Rob? I'm happy to be back. It's been a while.
Has been a while. What was the last time we had you on?
I don't know. I
Probably
think that a Champions League
could have been the one
preview
where you
probably.
brought out one or
The
multiple Champions League
trophies.
trophies. That was a great moment for us at Volleyball Source. But it's great to see. It's great to have you back.
You
My
as
name's
well.
Thank
Happy to
you.
be here.
My name's Rob St. Clair from Chicago. By the way, for anyone, that's Eric live from. Where are you? In
I'm
Anaheim
in Orange
somewhere?
County. I'm in Orange County, California.
So welcome back to the USA program. Welcome back to national team season. How was your club season this year with Zoxa, and how was that little bit of time off that you actually got to take, which is rare for players like yourself?
Yeah, so I had a couple weeks off, which was great. I was with family the entire time, basically, which is always nice. You've probably talked about it on the show, but volleyball players don't get that much time off between club and national team season. Luckily, I'm old at this point, and Karch gave me a couple weeks off, which was great. But I'm back in the gym and ready to go. Club season was all right. You guys did a lot of talk on Poland, which is great.
Yeah,
We
I got it on
finished,
VBTV now. That was awesome
yeah,
to see more of the games in that country. It was
100,
great.
100%. We finished fifth, which, probably we were close to top four. Maybe we could have been fourth, third. But I think overall it was an all right season. Vibes were high, which I cared about a lot, and I was pleasantly surprised with how our team worked together. So overall, it was a good year.
Good. That's good to hear.
Yeah,
So as we take a look at this national team season, we're going to talk about everything USA men. I mean, you've been in the gym for what, 2, 3 weeks now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. And so the guys are already down in Brazil getting ready for week number one of VNL. Eric, you are not there. We just learned the week one roster officially today. So we're going to get into
Yeah.
all of that. But
Okay.
um, a couple things I think are important to kind of set the stage for people for the entire this VNL tournament. What makes this special in particular, and I talked about this for the women, and clearly I don't think, based on the American fan base's reaction to some of the women's games in week one, I think we still have some work to do on educating the people about what's really going on here. Because
Yes.
this VNL is very unique in that it is the first volleyball event period of the entire Olympic cycle that culminates in 2028, right next to where Eric is right now in Los Angeles. And what that means for the United States is that we already know that we're qualified. That puts us in a different position than every other team in the world, because now this entire Olympic cycle isn't as much about the results of each match and each event necessarily, but it's about developing and getting new people in the mix and learning a new head coach in Karch Kiraly in preparation for the Olympics that we already know that we're qualified for. That makes a big difference. And now, kind of like Eric said, there are so many players, really all players in international volleyball who play for their countries, get very little time off from volleyball, period. You transition very quickly from the club season to the international season, then right back. You're back overseas in September or October or whatever it is. So a lot of players in this tournament in particular, of all countries, are going to take some time off, which they deserve. And a lot of players from the United States in particular, because we have all this flexibility with hosting the Olympics, even more of our established Olympians, Eric's teammates that everyone knows and loves, are going to take some well-deserved time off as well. So, Eric, can you tell us a little more about why this quad is unique for the U.S. in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. You alluded to it. The biggest thing is that we're hosting the Olympics, and what that means is that in every competition you're going to see in the Olympics, there's going to be an already qualified US team in it. There's no points, there's no rankings. If you're a team sport, you're in the Olympics, you're the top seed, which in
Right,
volleyball doesn't really matter. And there's nothing leading up to the 4 years that can change that.
right,
So typically, a VNL is a great opportunity for teams to win points and to help their ranking. Now, in men's volleyball, there is a qualifier, but a lot of the determination of the Olympics, the teams that make it, is based on the ranking that you have.
And that
And
ranking changes as a
that
result of
ranking
every
changes.
single match. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a formula. It's based on your world ranking, your opponent's world ranking, and the set score of the match. Like that is a number that is tracked before and after
Yeah.
every single match you play.
Which is actually so cool and exciting, especially when it comes down to the matches right before Paris. I think we
Oh,
saw,
that
you
race
know,
was insane. Really,
we
Serbia
saw
and
two,
Cuba.
yeah, we saw a couple matches or a couple games there. It just came down to literally the last maybe one or two matches of the VNL season last year. So it is a cool system, but for American fans out there, or any fans, it just doesn't apply to us this time. Do we want to lose every game?
Of
No.
course not.
Do we want to keep our ranking as high as possible for future possible competitions? Of course, but it's just not the main thing we're looking at this summer, especially when guys have been playing for 8, 12, 16 years on our team, especially.
Yeah, and you yourself, Eric, part of this kind of generation that came into the U.S. program in about 2014 is a benchmark year in my head.
Yeah.
A lot of you guys that have been together since that first quad under John Speraw are entering really your fourth Olympic cycle. And if there's a time to take time off, it's now. Absolutely. So many of those guys really need and deserve that. But for you yourself, what made you decide that you wanted to play this VNL in particular?
So, personally, I just don't like that much time off. I think also as a libero, the wear and tear isn't quite the same as, setters and hitters who are, just pounding their joints on the ground every single day, hundreds of times. And when I saw our schedule, I said, I can do it. And that's it. I wanted to play. I wanted to be in the gym, for a couple different factors that are personal to me, but yeah, I mean, I'm just excited and excited for this week to start off in Rio for the guys.
Yeah, if we know anything about you, Eric, you love volleyball more than just about anybody else we know or talk to or see in the volleyball world. When you're not playing, you're watching and you're texting me about what's going
Yes,
on
a
the
hundred
side. And
percent, a hundred, and it will be, of course, this week. But yeah, I mean, I would never question any of the other guys' love for the games. It's just individual, like what we feel individually and what is right for us, and whether guys have families and kids or maybe they're a little injured. This first year of the quad, the first VNL, is just the perfect time for us to take a break.
yep, that I think is just really important for our fan base to remember, American fans of both the men and the women, to always have that in perspective.
Yeah.
Uh, this so it seems like every Olympic cycle we have, especially yours, Eric, this entering your fourth, all of them are really different for one reason or another. This one is different. One, because we're back to 4 years instead.
Yeah.
Last quad was shortened to 3 years because of the pandemic. Also, this quad, the schedule has changed. Now there are two world championships per quad rather than one of which is this year. How, if at all, has that affected you guys in the early part of the summer?
I don't think we've honestly thought about it. I think with Karch coming in, a couple different coaches, and then a bunch of new young players, it's just not really on the forefront of anyone's mind because we're trying to, calibrate offenses, defenses. The coaches are figuring out their voices. We're figuring out our voices on the court. So it's truly 1 week at a time right now, and it's week one of VNL, and I don't think anyone is really looking at September at this point.
that's that's more than fair. So
Yes.
you talked about the new coaches. It is the beginning of a new era. It is the Karch Kiraly era in terms of USA men's volleyball. I mean, many of us know Karch for being one of the greatest players of all time and then winning Olympic gold as the head coach of the women, amongst his other success over there. But um, you and some of the guys, but you in particular for this VNL group, have been in the USA men's gym so long that now a different face and a different voice as the leader of the group, even if it is somebody like Karch, is bound to be different. Can you tell us so far what's been different about the way Karch kind of structures things day to day and his voice compared to John's?
So overall, I would say the schedule has stayed pretty much the same for us. So, the day-to-days have stayed very similar, whether it's practice and we're done or practice and then a lift. All of that has stayed pretty much the same. I think one of the biggest differences right now, and maybe it's unique to year one of the quad, is that we have 1 through maybe 35 in the gym right now.
Yeah,
We have a lot of bodies, and that is not something that Sparod typically did. He was very focused on maybe 1 to 18, but I think given a bunch of young guys and, looking for different talent out there, Karch has really emphasized kind of the 1 through, I would say, 33 or 35 guys. And that is a lot of
that's all
people in a
bodies.
gym. So
Yeah,
it can be tough to coordinate, but if there's one thing that Karch does well is organization and getting everyone out on the floor and making sure that we are all in the places that we need to be. So, his organization has been top notch, which is great, I think, for us and then for a lot of new guys, as I keep saying. But you combine that with just passion, passion, passion with him and Javier Weber and Lucas
yes.
Labe, and it's been epic so far. And I haven't had the chance to really even be coached by Karch that much because I knew I wasn't going on this week of VNL. But from top to bottom, I think the coaches have been doing such a great job, and it's just fun to have some fresh blood sometimes.
Sometimes I'm excited to. Hopefully, we get to see you in Chicago in week number 2, and we can dig more into what Karch's personality is like on the sideline,
Yeah.
because I just can't wait to see him and interact with him. And I mean, I've interviewed him in the context of the women, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what's similar and what's different to how his personality comes out when coaching the men. So it's just
Yeah, I
one
mean,
of many
I
pieces to be excited about.
I think what Karch expects is great volleyball. I mean, we're not gonna, execute perfectly, but there's a standard to be set, and Karch has set that really early on, whether it's, free balls, down balls, high ball setting, different things that you have to win matches. It's not always about the perfect offense or the perfect defense, but it's about these little things that you can, steal some points every once in a while. And I know that Karch is a stickler for those, and they've all been on us, but so far, so good.
Yeah, and kind of the last thing on that subject before we dive into the VNL specifically, with a new coaching staff, a new regime, if you want to put it that way, that is different from what's been established the last really 3 quads. How has it opened up the possibilities for what this team can do, what this team can be? There are like no preconceptions about players' previous involvement or previous roles or anything like that. It's like really kind of a blank canvas for both the coaches and the players. Is that creating a different atmosphere in the gym than maybe previously?
I think so. I mean, I think the last 3 quads have been really interesting because we had a very set group of established guys, and now with some of those guys taking a break and Karch's communication towards us in a sense, like no position is, stuck. Like no position is set.
Yeah.
So he's really looking for these younger guys, these new guys to step up and challenge. And I think that is really exciting for, us older guys. We need that as a team and as a federation. And then truly giving these young guys an opportunity to play has, I think, opened up a lot of their eyes and just being like, okay, we have a shot here. And I'm not sure that young guys felt that in the past, just given the team that we've had.
Just way
So
more difficult to break in.
yeah, 100%. And, timing is always an interesting thing on the national team. And I
Yes.
think um, the time right now is for some new guys to step up and show themselves.
And this is the time to do it. This VNL, we have 12 matches guaranteed, where
Yeah,
the result of which, for the most part, doesn't matter a whole lot in the grand scheme of things, which is a
yeah,
fantastic platform for Karch and the whole staff and this pool of 30 guys that have been named to the long list. But I know there are even more than that in the gym to
yeah,
get out on the court and make an impact. So we know
100%.
so we know there's a group already down there in Rio right now, week 1 of Rio, Brazil, starting on Wednesday this week in order. We've got Ukraine, Iran, Slovenia, and Cuba. Then a week off, you guys get to come back to me, to my home city of Chicago, western suburbs, Hoffman Estates. I know you've played there a bunch, Eric. You get China, Canada, Poland, and Italy. then 2 weeks off. There's an additional week off built into the schedule this year before you go to Chiba, Japan for Turkey, Argentina, Germany, and the host Japan. So that means in the preliminary round, you guys do not play France, Brazil, Serbia, the Netherlands, and Bulgaria. Any thoughts on the draw, the schedule, the spread of teams, who you play and when? Because obviously you, of all people, know a lot of these opponents pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have an initial thought. I mean, what's interesting is that there's 18 teams in VNL this year and you play
Yes.
12 matches, so you're just not guaranteed to play everyone, which I don't know how they draw that. I don't know how they seed that. I don't know how any of that. But um, looking at this graphic, I think we have a great opportunity to win some matches. And I know in the past, I think teams that are around 7-5, 6-6 have been able to make the top eight. So
It'll be tough this year because
I'm hoping
for
because of
one,
China.
China. Yeah, so China gets a bid to the playoffs as the
Yeah.
host, so
So
they
we gotta, I mean, you never know how China's gonna do, but we are looking to be top seven to make that top eight
yes.
because China has their spot already guaranteed. So I think we have a shot. I think it's gonna be tough and really interesting, but I think if we, play some solid volleyball, we can potentially split every week and hopefully make a push there.
Yeah, 2-2 in a given week is never a bad thing in VNL. And
Yeah.
then you put yourselves in some matches, maybe you can steal one or two. Then that can be the difference of making the playoffs versus not. And while sure it would be amazing to win the VNL, really it's just if you make the playoffs, you get more matches to play. That's
Yeah.
kind of the benefit of that, right?
Yeah, and I think last year, we started off 1-3. It was by design that we didn't send our main group to Turkey last season. But it really just mentally, I'm not sure we were in it after going 1-3 there. Um, and then that combined with like honestly not sure if we really even wanted to make the finals based on traveling
Yeah, this
to
calendar.
I can't remember where the finals was, but making a trip to Europe, I believe it was right before the Olympics with some banged up guys and some tired legs. We weren't sure if that was the best choice for us, but okay, we didn't deserve to go. We didn't make it. And I think that ended up working in our favor a little bit.
Yeah,
But
it
it's
worked out. It worked
it's
out in the
it's
tournament that
early on
mattered.
in the quad and we're looking to win. We're looking to win.
Good. That's what we as American sports fans
Yes.
always love to hear.
Yes.
So I thought we could go kind of position by position and talk about like we'll at least go down the long list. We don't need to get into every individual player by any
Okay.
means, but I think just kind of giving a picture of the position groups and what focuses there are or what things we think are going to be important at each given position for a VNL like this, given the context that we've already said. That sound good?
Yeah.
Great. Let's start with the setters. Let's start with the
Okay.
quarterbacks.
Got it.
We got five of them. We got returning Olympian Micah Ma'a. We've got Quinn Isaacson and Michael Wright, who have some overseas pro experience. Quinn, who played against you, Eric, in Poland this past year, and then two guys fresh out of the NCAA: Andrew Rowan from UCLA and Tread Rosenthal, the youngest player on the roster out of Hawaii. Micah Christensen taking the summer off as he certainly deserves.
The
Um,
VNL off.
the
The
VN,
VN
thank
the
you.
VNL.
Thank you for correcting me on that. Yes, taking the VNL off. I'm first year of the quad. I'm so not used to there being a world championship
I know.
this year.
It's weird. It's weird.
It's weird. So this position group, we know that Quinn Isaacson and Andrew Rowan are the guys down in Brazil. We can talk about the week one roster later, but what is how are these guys being coached right now? What I assume Javier Weber is in these guys' ears a lot in practice. What has that been like from your observation?
Well, first of all, I think it's a great list. I
Yeah, me
think
too.
kind of in prediction mode, these were the five guys that I thought were going to be on the list. And I'm happy to say that they're all playing well and competing well and are great leaders and great people out there. So that's cool. Right now, it's all about location and
Yep.
running the offense. You don't have to be crazy out there. I think a lot of people kind of assume like, oh, if you're a top setter, you're deceptive and you're wild and you're making the crazy sets. But right now, it's all about simplicity and running a solid offense, especially with a lot of new guys and a lot of people in the gym. So, again, I haven't been around kind of the main coaches that much, but I know Javier Weber and he's just looking for these guys to set a great offense.
And I remember John Speraw often had sort of distribution percentages in mind of like what areas of the court he wanted to engage like a certain amount of the time. Is there anything like that as a guideline to kind of establish an offensive identity with these setters, or are they really just being entrusted to feel out the offense that they want to set?
I think there's definitely an emphasis for down the middle of the court. I think that's been our
Quick middle
USA
and Bick as usual.
quick middle and Bick, and that's
Okay.
been our identity as a USA team for a while now. So we'll see. I don't know. The guys have been down in Brazil for about a week now, and I'm sure they're working on different things. But I mean, we can get into passing later, but depending on the pass, it's just running that clean, efficient offense and seeing what our hitters can do, just putting up the ball for them.
Is there this is an interesting question for a setter in particular. Is there a school of thought that's emerging so far on either like trying to conform each individual setter to the USA system, or is it allowing the system to be built around which setter is in the match on a given day, or maybe somewhere in the middle, if that makes sense?
Well, I think all of these setters are a little bit different, right? I mean, we have 6'10" Tread
Yeah,
Rosenthal
Tread's
and,
massive.
Micah Ma'a, who's the most athletic person out there, but maybe 6'2", and Quinn, who's 6'3". So, different guys are going to bring their different qualities to the match. I don't think that at, the level that we play at, the offenses are necessarily adjusting to who's on the court. It's their job to distribute the offense. I think that's kind of the biggest thing that setters have to do. I mean, there's different defensive schemes that you can run around a bigger block or a smaller block, but offensively, I don't think there's that much difference with the five guys here.
Okay. And then have you noticed a difference at all in just kind of the style of play that's coming from the three guys who have played over in Europe, and Quinn, Micah, and Michael Wright from Lundberg, versus the two that have just been setting in the NCAA? Because those are different worlds and different styles of volleyball.
Well, I think the three guys overseas have kind of dealt with more of a variety of hitters, right? They're dealing with pros out there from different countries, and whether they're taller or shorter, there's more variety in the kinds of sets that they have to make. It's not just setting a ball out to the outside, right? It's you have to make a set for every single different person. And I think that's a little bit different than maybe Rowan and Tread have kind of come up in the system where, I'm just going to put out a ball and the hitter's going to adjust. Now it's the setters have to adjust.
Yes.
So that's probably the biggest thing. And then just playing the all-around game, I think sometimes as like the setters that grow up in America, it's, trying to block and set, but they forget about defense. And I
Yeah.
think you're gonna see in, Michael, Ma'an, and Quinn, their defense is like really, really good. And I think that's kind of no shade to the other guys. It's not like they're bad defenders, but just picking that up and, it's about the complete player.
Got to be complete. You got to block, you got to serve, you got to dig, in addition to locating the ball the way that this position has to do. It's hard. It's
It's
hard,
very
man.
hard. It's like, for sure, it's the hardest position right now, just having to deal with the hitters, basically.
A lot of different hitters and a lot of brand new hitters. So
Yep.
I'm sure these guys' heads are spinning. So I'm looking forward to seeing both Quinn and Rowan hopefully get some run down in Brazil.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally absolutely love Quinn Isaacson. The what he did with Norvid this year in the Plusliga, that the first half of the season in particular, before he hurt his hand, that
Yeah.
was one of the hottest and most fun teams to watch in all of volleyball. And I don't know
Yeah,
if it's
I know. Zaxa, we know that was yeah,
I
we
don't.
lost a five setter to them early on. But Quinn's just a competitor. I think
Yeah,
that's what I love about him. Him and Ma are just true competitors that maybe it's not gonna look the prettiest or they're not gonna do something super flashy, but they're gonna win. And
only thing that matters.
that's what we want.
I don't know if it's been announced officially yet, but I know Quinn got himself a pretty nice contract for next year. So,
In Zaxa. Oh,
yes,
but
that
anyway,
I knew
that's
that.
public news. That's public
I
news.
think it's public news as well. Congrats to
Yes.
Quinn. That's an awesome,
Yes.
awesome move, and he's a Chicago kid, so it would be cool to see him get on that roster in a couple of
Yeah.
weeks.
Yeah.
Anything else to add about the setter position?
We got some talent. It's
Yes,
exciting. It's exciting.
got some athletes.
And
Don't sleep on Michael Wright either. I really like this
no,
kid.
he's a super good competitor. I think he's finding his way a little bit and having to dial in just being accurate. I mean, again, it's hard setting all these different players, but yeah, these guys are athletes, they're competitors, and it's been fun to interact with them.
Love it. Let's move on to a position that's just been a really interesting one, a topic of conversation for the USA men for many quads now, and that's the opposite position. I mean, the timeline of this position is so interesting. After the retirement of the legendary Clay Stanley in 2012, we were able to transition one of the greatest players in the world and convince Matt Anderson to switch for the USA from the left side to the right side. And he's been holding that position down for the better part of 3 quads. And he, for so long, has been top 5 in the world at 2 different positions. Without him, there has been, or beneath him, there's been a question for a long time of who is going to come up and really solidify that second opposite position. In Tokyo, it was Kyle Ensing. In Paris, it was actually kind of technically nobody.
Yeah.
Maddie was the only true opposite on the roster. You brought 4 middles. Ensing was there as the alternate, but then you also had the piece of the puzzle. It was the renationalization of Gabi Garcia from Puerto Rico to the United States. He was first eligible to play last year. So the guys we got on the roster this VNL, Kyle Ensing, Gabi Garcia, and then 2 newer guys in Kevin Coburn and Kyle Hobus. Tell me about this position, Erik. With no Matt Anderson, this is a wide open blank canvas for guys to just be relied upon to score some points.
Yeah, and I think that the coaches are putting a pretty big emphasis trying to find, someone who can, potentially, challenge Matt and or be a backup or take over. You never know what's going to happen. Um, yeah, these guys are young, they're fiery, they're excited to be here, and they're competing well. I mean, they're not the biggest, they're not the tallest, they may not be your typical, out of system banger that an opposite typically is, but I think that they're good volleyball players, and so far they're competing well.
Have you kind of noticed a trend that, and Everett and I have talked about this kind of recently, the women's game right now, internationally and club, is very much opposite dominated. The men's game was that way 10-ish years ago, but it kind of feels to me like it's shifting away from that into a style that enables smaller, quicker, more dynamic, like all-around athletes to play that position and do quite well. Have you seen the same thing? And is that sort of a reason why we're seeing this particular group of opposites for USA?
Yeah, I think so. I think one of the biggest reasons is that there's a shift to trying to score from the front court versus the back court. So
Mhm.
with blocks and defenses these days, it's very hard to score from position 1 out of system. You'll see a lot of out of system sets going to area 4 or front row to the opposite if they're front row, just because it gives you a higher chance to score points. And I think that due to that, we're setting more to position 4 and they're taking more high balls than maybe in the past where we had someone like Ivan Milkovic who was just taking out the trash for Serbia
Legend.
every single point. I think it's just shifting now, and we're seeing a little bit of some smaller opposites out there. You have Darlan, who's a flyer. You have the Japanese
Yep.
guys who are obviously pretty small, and I think that's just a shift because we're not setting a high back row set to area 1 quite as much as we did in the past.
So from maybe it's too early to really tell this, but do you guys have I mean, other than the distribution that you kind of just talked about, do you kind of have an out of system attacking strategy so far that's being preached to these guys? Like, is there a balance of termination versus recycle versus keep the ball in play? Like, what's the messaging to these attackers with 4 or 6 hands up in front of them?
So I think we're in volleyball, we're seeing a lot more of recycling and tipping and throwing these days. A lot of balls getting set tight to the net and just people poking it into the block and recycling and giving yourself another chance. So that's been a big emphasis for all of our pin hitters, really, the last 2 weeks that I've been on this team right now. But if you have the set, go up and bang it,
Yeah.
right? It's like if you're there and you feel confident, go and hit it. That gives the team so much confidence when you can feel good against a triple block, go high flat and score a point. Maybe you're not going to get a straight down kill, but if you can figure out a way to get a kill and off a good set, go for it. I mean, nobody's going to fault you for that.
I remember a couple years ago, Everett and I were in VNL in Ottawa, and we were talking to some of the Canadian national team, and they were getting the guidance that in out of system offense, if they think with like ball in the air about to go up and get it, if they think they have a 60% chance to score, score. Otherwise, recycle. That was like one example of kind of the mindset those guys were talking about. And something that I was noticing with watching the US women last week was that maybe that percentage needs to be decreased a little bit, where you
Mhm.
should be empowered more to
Yeah.
try and take a rip and score given the US's situation right now. This is a young group. The results don't necessarily have the same impact as everyone else. Would it make some sense to encourage these guys to take a rip at the ball a little more than maybe like in the Olympic Games, for example?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was why not, right? If you have the set, go up and get
Go.
it.
Yeah.
But the strategy of tipping and recycling, a lot of it depends on just the set that you have, right? You have to be tight to the net. If you're 5 feet off the net, it's very difficult to recycle. If you're in position one as a opposite hitter, right back hitting a D ball as we call it, it's very difficult to recycle. You're not really recycling those balls. So it's really circumstantial, and we train a lot of high ball setting to get it tight and high close to the net so that they have the option. So I think it just depends on the situation and knowing the hitter that you are. I mean, Aaron Russell, 6'9" outside hitter, he's not typically a recycler, but you get someone like Jordan Ewart, who's on the roster this year, who's 6'3" and not quite as physical as that, and you're going to see a bunch of recycles this week. So
Because he's
just it
really
just
good at it. He's really
yeah, he's
smart out of
very
system
good
hitter.
at it, and it forces the Liberos to cover a lot. So we're gonna have to work on that. But yeah, it just depends on the player and what the situation is.
I think talking about the opposites, this is a good time to talk about serving because and then the classical big banger opposite era that maybe we're past that now, but still like a lot of team success in volleyball, no matter what, is serve versus serve reception. And we'll talk about serve reception in a minute. But I'm
Yeah.
curious about serving on this particular team. How many guys have the proverbial green light to go out and just rip the ball as really hard as they can, go out and hit their best serve versus the float servers versus the guys who are given a zone? Like Gabi Garcia to me comes to mind as a guy whose arm is so good that it would make sense to maybe give him the opportunity to be as aggressive as he wants to be. What has been the discussion about serving strategy so far with this team?
So typically, the last couple years, we've put an emphasis on like not making three mistakes in a row,
Mm-hmm.
basically. I don't think anyone has been given like the true green light. Like maybe we saw Leon in Lublin this year where he was literally just serving bombs every
That dude
single
is,
time.
I mean, he's a walking green light.
Yeah.
He's pretty unique.
So, um, it's a lot of strategy. Again, it just depends on the team and the situation that we're in. I think Gabby in this group is probably someone that's going to have more of a green light just because he's very good at serving and he has a good serve. Kyle Ensing is someone who typically will keep it in a little bit more. But yeah, I don't think anyone like truly has the green light because our coach Javier Weber just hates like mistake after mistake after mistake. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that's gonna go because also like overall in this group we don't have that many float servers.
True.
So I'm interested to see what it's gonna look like on Wednesday.
I think that, and you played in Poland, Eric. You saw the end of the Plusliga playoffs. If people didn't watch the semis and the final in the Plusliga, do not sleep on the contribution that Kyle Ensing gave
Yeah,
off the bench to Xavier. Like that, the last match of that semifinal series, they were dealing with a bunch of injuries. They were kind of a mess. And Kyle, and then this undersized outside hitter, Patrick Waba, came off
yeah.
the bench for Xavier and carried. And Kyle, in particular, in that fifth set was really tremendous and was the reason why they got to that final. So I hope
Yeah, I
American
mean,
fans know that just happened for Kyle.
Kyle is one of those players that you're never really going to notice him that much, if that makes sense, but he's going to get the job done. It's very
Yes,
rare that he's going to like have a horrible game. Like maybe he's not going to put up the biggest numbers always, but what Kyle does is that he's so steady, he blocks really well, he defends really well, and he just plays the overall game and then will score points for you. And I think it was in 2022 he played like all of VNL and we made the final. So it's like he won
that's right.
matches. He's won a lot of matches for us and he's just like the greatest guy to have on a team because he's just like happy and works
Yeah,
hard
he's
and
an
like laughs all the time.
awesome vibes guy.
So I think like a lot of people forget that he's won matches for us but he's just that like kind of steady workhorse, which is great.
And then can you tell us anything about the two newest guys? Kevin Coburn, who played at both UCLA, then USC as a grad transfer, had a good year in Germany, and then Kyle Hobus from Northridge, who played a little bit of both wings, played in Austria this year. I know Kyle because he played in the VLA in 2022
Okay.
and popped off and won a big tournament that they played in. But what have you seen so far from those two guys?
Well, first of all, from Kevin, this is the first summer that I've met him, and he's kind of like a silent assassin type. He's not going to say much. He's not super flashy, but he's kind of an athletic freak and has kind of this wild arm, as we all joke about it. I mean, he was ripping some balls today, but like tomorrow, we're not sure what's gonna he's gonna bring. But he's an athlete, and he's overall just a really good volleyball player. And then Kyle, I also just met him this summer. He might be the surprise of the summer for me so far.
Love that.
I wasn't sure. I didn't know who he was. I don't typically follow Northridge volleyball, so um I didn't know. I knew that he played in Innsbruck because I played in Innsbruck many, many years ago, but he's doing really well. And the scrimmages against Brazil, I thought he played really well, and he's not this like crazy athlete, I don't think, but he's really smooth out there. He finds the seams, and I think he plays smart volleyball.
Love it. Keep an eye out for this group. It's kind of a big one in my opinion for the ceiling of this particular USA group is the volume and the efficiency that this group can handle offensively. So
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing these guys play. My personal most important position group for the summer is this one. It's the outside hitter position. We've got a bunch of dudes on here. First of all, I have both, well, I guess all three of Zach Rama, Camden Gianni, and Nolan Flexen all listed in the outside hitter category. I know those guys can play both. You also got Caleb Jenis, Jacob Pastor, Cooper Robinson, Ethan Champlin, and Jordan Ewert. 8 guys, basically all brand new to USA. I know
Yeah.
Ewert's played a little bit. I think Gianni and Champlin may have played a little bit as well. But this is a very new group that I'm super excited to see who we can develop here without all 4 Olympic left sides from last year who are all taking some time off, which is awesome. So
Yeah.
Erik, you're the starting libero, or will be when you're on the roster. You're their serve reception guy, called by John Sproul last year in an interview with us, the best receiver on the planet. So
Thanks, John.
yeah, thanks, John. CEO John laying down the law on that
Yeah.
one. What is going to help this group get used to the international level of serve reception the fastest?
Reps. I mean, I don't know if there's anything that can truly prepare you for what they're about to see, maybe, except just experience. And I think that with this group, it's not a ton out there. It's early pros, it's college guys, and um, it's funny. I made a TikTok this year just comparing NCAA and pro volleyball, and it's just not the same. So I'm
Follow
interested
Erik
to,
on TikTok, by the way.
yeah, I'm interested to see who's gonna step up. I mean, the 4 that are in Brazil this week are Robinson, Flexen, Champlin, and Ewert, and it's like 2 giants and then two smaller guys. We'll call them. Jordan Ewert at 6'5" is small, but we're looking for a combination of passing and hitting.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I mean, it's you got to pass the ball, and if you're not, your offense has to make up for it somehow, but it doesn't always work like that. So, I'm interested to see what combo we're gonna start, but it's got to start with serve receive. So we'll see.
The first Brazil scrimmage, that at least the one that I saw, the combo that started the match was Ewert and Flexen,
Yeah.
which was cool and interesting. I'm from your perspective, Erik, what is reception chemistry mean to you in this group? Two outside hitters and a libero that are probably going to be interchanged quite a bit in a VNL like this. How do you?
Yeah.
What are the basics of communication so that the three of you can get on the same page as soon as possible?
So I think with this group, it's going to require a lot of communication, a lot of work. Typically, early on now, we're just trying to not get aced a lot of
Hmm.
the time, and that the way that I think about it doesn't sound quite as negative as I just said it. But it's like, how can we just control the ball well enough to not give up these direct points? And, if we get aced by a 80-mile-an-hour serve and we shank it,
So be it.
there's a difference between that and letting a ball fall in the seam, or, a float serve that we miscommunicate on and shank to the side. There's different types of reception errors out there. So I'm looking for, if we're gonna get aced, I'm looking for bombs, I'm looking for sidelines. And I think that this group will do a good job of scouting the servers and making adjustments based on that. But mainly, we just don't want balls between the guys. That's the main thing.
How does a group like this scout opposing servers, and maybe when does a group like this scout opposing servers? I mean, there's kind of a thing in every VNL, but this one in particular where there might be a distinct time where you go from focusing a lot on your side of the net to starting to pay a little more attention to the other side of the net. But when it comes to reception, like there's only so much you can do on your own side if you can't put the ball somewhere close to the center of the court to run your stuff from there. Like
Yeah.
how and when are you guys emphasizing scouting opposing servers?
So we've already talked about Ukraine,
Okay.
last week
Well, good thing you don't
because
have Plotnitsky to deal with. That would be
I
an
know
entirely
that's a
different
big one.
beast.
That's a big one. But Ukraine played two or three friendlies in Poland maybe last weekend. So the guys were already talking about that those games were online and available to be scouted. So, the talk has already been there. The team will probably start scouting today and for sure tomorrow, getting ready for Wednesday. But it's looking at all the servers, in these friendly matches and then going even back to their pro seasons. A lot of them played in Poland. I'm sure they played, in Germany and France. So it's all available to scout. And um, Nate Go, our scouting man, will put it all together and put us in the best position to be successful.
Nate is fantastic, by the way. Like huge unsung hero for USA men's
Yes,
volleyball.
yes, yes,
Deserves
yes.
deserves a huge amount of credit.
Yeah,
Um, Similar kind of to the setter position here, you've got a lot of guys in this outside hitter group coming from very different volleyball places in the world in the last month or two. You got
yeah,
a handful fresh out the NCAA. You got two guys from Finland, France, Germany, and then Jordan Ewert, who went from France to Italy in the middle of the season. Does do you think the different play styles they've picked up in those places and the different like kind of offensive toolkits that you've have to have in those different places is, I mean, it can only be good to have that much variety, but are they having to change up the emphasis on what they're doing offensively for USA a little bit?
I'm not sure they're trying to change too much. I think we just go back to the variety that they're gonna have to have in their game. So in college, there's just not quite as much variety, whether it's tipping, rolling, throwing, recycling, and you're seeing guys like Champlin and Ewart just frustrate the crap out of people here because they're able to do that and they mostly pick that up as professionals. So I'm interested to see, what guys like Cooper or Nolan can do this week. They're high flyers. They are freaking
You
athletic.
guys, if you haven't seen either of those two guys play in person, Cooper Robinson and Nolan Flixen have the vertical ability that cannot be taught. They are up there.
Yeah,
The
I
the
mean
the very literal ceiling is so high.
they've been going over guys in this gym, for a week that I saw, and it's pretty impressive. So it's like, how can we balance that, but also knowing that you're not going to get those swings every time?
Right.
And what can they do on these out of system balls or maybe a set that quite isn't there? Whereas Champlin and Ewart, we're talking about these four guys that are in Brazil right now.
Mhm.
Um, they have to find their ability to score points versus constantly trying to recycle because that's also not going to work. So as an outside, you're kind of trying to find your own identity, but also just putting the team in a best position that they can be.
There's a lot to look at for this position group for sure. There's so much variety, so much like different experiences, different styles. This, I guess, is a good time to ask the question. Like, so far in the gym, the first couple weeks, has it been? What's the system for playing different guys together? Has it kind of been like platoon groups of seven, like in like maybe preparing a team to go down to Rio, for example, or are guys being intermixed in and out, drill for drill, rep for rep, rotation for rotation? Like what's kind of the pattern and the cadence of changing up combinations of players?
So typically at the start of practice, maybe for the first hour, we're trying to just dial in offense and defensive systems. So guys are moving all over, hitters are hitting off every setter. just interchanging all around the gym. It's a little it's controlled chaos, I would say. And then, kind of when we break up into two courts of 6-on-6, you can kind of see who's going to travel or who maybe isn't going to travel. And I know that there were probably 2 or 3 days of 6-on-6 before this Brazil trip where it was the Brazil team. It was the team that was going to go to Brazil, maybe with one or two guys switching back and forth because the coaches hadn't decided yet. So
Okay.
it's just kind of one of those things where you kind of see it unfolding in front of you. But the Brazil group had been training together for 3 or 4 days before we left.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to add about this position group? Big one that I personally have my eye on this summer.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've interacted with all of them now. I'm going down the list, and again, they're cool guys. They're young and they're great and eager and working hard, and that's all we can ask for. I'm interested to see what Karch and the coaches are going to do, if they're going to change any. If not, I really have no idea.
He'll be watching and figuring it out just like the rest of us at home.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on to the middle blocker position. We've got 9 on this roster, which is insane. It's actually the most
Yeah.
of any position group. Jeff Jendrick anchors it as the established Olympian, but then a bunch of other guys with a lot of very different experiences and paths. Shane Holdaway, Pat Gassman, Cameron Thorne, Merrick McHenry, Mike Marshman, Matt Knigge, Daniel Wetter, and then 19-year-old 7-footer Parker Tompkinson, who I love that he's on the long list. I think it seems to me like his most of his priority is going to be with the U23 team this summer, but it's amazing that he's getting reps against you guys, and that size is obviously such a huge prospect. Sort of like you talked about the outside hitters, there's the big bangers and the little skilled passer characters. There's
Yeah.
kind of similar divide in archetypes of middle blockers too. Is that fair?
100%. I mean, there is a big range of middles in this world. You can go to Russia and find a million
Oh,
7-footers, and then, on this team we have some 6'6", 6'5". In Poland, I think Kochanowski's maybe 6'6", 6'7", one of the best middles in the world.
he's
Japan, they're a
awesome.
little bit smaller. So it just depends on the team's style and what fits into their system.
So with Jeff being there, being the guy who's been there before, no Dave Smith, no Max Holt, no Taylor Averill for this VNL. Hopefully we get at least a couple of those guys back in future tournaments, I guess we'll say. What
Yes.
as far as you can tell, what have been the emphases for this middle blocker group so far? What are their identities going to be on the offense, and then how quickly are we trying to get them up to speed in the blocking game? Which is another thing that's very, very hard about this level.
I think blocking has been the main emphasis for this group. I think they've all been offensive stars in the past, but blocking is next level
Yeah.
at this level. Um, it's nearly impossible to block balls. I don't know, as hard that sounds crazy, but it's just so hard to read setters in good situations and to block balls. So they've been really focused on that, just trying to get touches, not trying to do anything crazy, but yeah, hopefully this crew down in Brazil can put something good together and again, just combine that offensive work with the defensive work that they've been putting in and put in a good product.
Can you talk about, like, while we're talking about middles and blocking, kind of how explain to us how elite level block and defense systems work, like the communication that you guys have on plays when you're serving, like the difference
Yeah.
between a read and a commit, or like how the synergy works between the middle blocker position and the libero position.
So typically on every team, they'll have a different system, but there's communication from the blockers to the defenders and the defenders to the blockers. So something as simple as blockers will call cross court, they'll take the cross court and the defenders will shift line. Something as simple as that. Or maybe a middle blocker will commit on the other middle blocker, meaning they jump full. So that means that the defenders have to move around that a little bit. So it's small shifts here and there that you're communicating before the play just to increase your chances of getting a ball up or blocking the ball.
And I love this particular middle blocker group because it's an example of the different possible paths that there are to the USA national team. Like you have guys from every possible like walk of volleyball that are here. Like
Yeah.
Matt Knigge played Division III NCAA, which is really remarkable. Mike Marshman, I know personally, but I'm a huge fan of his. He's exactly a day older than me. So
Okay.
he's about to turn 31, and he only kind of cracked USA in the last year or two
Yeah.
after playing at St. Francis of all places, and then just being incredible overseas. Then you have
Yeah.
like Cam Thorne, who I think the roster gave him 6'4". Met and interviewed
Generous.
I've met and interviewed
Generous.
Cam Thorne. There is no possible way he is 6'4", but y'all have seen his clips from all Instagram NCAA. He's one of the most explosive dudes, and like his speed
Yeah.
off the ground is absolutely next level. So like, I love this position group
Oh, shoot.
for. I think we might have lost Eric's camera. There he is.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I love this position group because it's like the middle blocker is kind of like a grinder, work hard position anyway, just because you can practice the blocking game as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's kind of just like bust your butt and get out there in whatever way you can. And it's a nice little analog for a lot of these guys' careers. So I think that that's cool.
Yeah, I mean it's a really unique group. I mean I'm cringing at the fact that Mike is 30 and the next oldest person on the group after me. But
Is that right? Well, he's
that's
not
right.
very many
Yes.
threes in the age column on this roster.
No, sadly, no. But I think, blocking is an interesting skill. It's one of those things you just have to see the ball a lot, like you have to have a lot of experience to just kind of gain the knowledge and be able to read different setters. So I'm looking for these guys. I mean, I think Jeff will start on Wednesday. I hope Jeff starts. And then, Pat Gassman for me has been a pretty big surprise. Not a surprise, but he's just a big boy that
Oh
takes up
yeah,
a lot of space. And he played well in our Brazil scrimmage yesterday, and he touches a lot of balls. So we'll see what combo they use this week. I'm not sure.
cool. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully, we can get him involved in the offense too, given the reception, and I'm excited to see those patterns and
Yeah,
connections start to develop. But if I were coaching any team, blocking for the middle is the skill I would be worried about first.
yeah.
Last but not least, Erik's position, the Libero group. Erik, Mason Briggs, Kyle D'Agostino, and Jacob Riley, fresh out of Pepperdine. Mason and Kyle are down in Brazil with the team this week. Kyle's 30, so you got that one, Erik. There's
Okay. Oh,
a-
thank goodness.
another 3 in the age column and another Stanford Cardinal. Um, what are you focused on with communicating with this group so far? What have you like taken sort of a leadership role upon yourself in the Libero position group in particular?
Well, I've been around Kyle a lot, the
Yeah.
last 4 years or so, and we have a good dynamic of just, really helping each other out, especially during matches. Just what we're seeing. I think Mason has been in the gym a lot, but we just haven't overlapped that much. And then Jacob is new to the gym. He absolutely kicked my butt today in practice, so, he's a talent for sure. But I think the main thing for this group is just being consistent. I think as Libros, a lot of people want to see spectacular plays and diving saves but that's actually really not what libero position is about. It's about being consistent and making kind of these like medium to easy plays. You just have to make them every single
Yep.
time. And you're going to see that from a lot of top level liberos. And I think that's the biggest thing for me and this group to do for this VNL, definitely.
What I guess for you personally, and maybe what's being taught to this group of the importance of just being the leader of the reception unit. What does that job mean to you, and what are the details of how that plays out between you and your two outside hitters that are next to you?
Well, we want to make the outside hitter job as easy as possible for them. So, whether that's giving them less space or simply just communicating to them what they need to do in reception, they outsides actually like want to hear that communication from the libero typically, and it's just all about making them comfortable and making your yourself and the unit as comfortable as possible. So, it's not necessarily about like over communicating like blah 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 blah. It's about just like 3 to 5 things before every serve, making it super quick and loud so that everybody hears, and just to make sure that everyone knows what they're doing right before they serve so that you can feel as comfortable as you can inside out.
And then you already talked about the block defense system a little bit, but something that Everett and I have talked about before and that we're noticing really, I'd say post pandemic at least, if not a little bit before, is the Libero playing defense in position 6 a little bit more often than we're used to. What are your thoughts on that? And what are like the strategies and the strengths of weaknesses of doing that for this USA group?
Well, in the past, I played a lot of six.
Yeah.
That was kind of based on the fact that I thought that I was much better in six, and then some of our outsides actually preferred left back area five instead. So it's just really just trying to be in the best positions we could in defense to get the ball up. Now, for our team specifically, again, we pride ourselves on the big hit, which is the pipe out of the middle back, which can be much more difficult to run if our outsides are in area five.
And often a really popular play in transition. So there's that piece
Yes.
of it.
So, um, heading into Tokyo, I just wasn't playing very well in Area 5, so I went to Area 6 where I was much more comfortable. But, maybe it took the dick out a couple of plays during that tournament. I don't know. But the last 3 years, I put a lot of work on just being in Area 5 and trying to dig some balls there. But you'll see a lot in matches where we get stuck in six, they'll go to five in transition. It just depends. I mean, you just have to know both and try to be good in both.
Get somewhere, touch the ball, make a play.
I mean, the BIC doesn't come into play if you can't get it up in the first place.
Excellent
So,
point.
um, yeah, I mean, I'm doing a lot more Area 5 now, but you're gonna get stuck in certain positions and you just have to be ready.
Cool. What else about your position group before we move on to what's going on this week? Anything?
I don't know. I don't know what the plan is for this week with Mason and Kyle. I kind of would expect them to maybe do 2-2 matches. That being said, I don't know what is going through Karch's head, but yeah, Kyle has been someone that's been around for a while and has played really good volleyball for this team. So I would expect him to start on Wednesday, but Mason is kind of this up and comer and has been on the team also for a little bit. Never that much with the main guys, but we'll see there. But they're both playing some good volleyball right now.
Cool. Looking forward to watching both of them. So I think we've already hit this throughout the course of talking about the position groups, but we know the roster that's down for week 1 in Brazil. The setters are Isaacson and Rowan. The outsides are Robinson, Flexen, Champlin, Ewert. The opposites are Garcia and Hobus. The middles are Gendrick, Gassman, McHenry, and Knigge. And the liberos, like Erik just said, are Briggs and D'Agostino under the legendary Karch Kiraly. So that's the group. That's who's down there right now. They played 2 scrimmages against Brazil, right?
Yep.
And that's kind of the training. Can you? How much? Every team kind of does this differently. What are your takes on the pre-tournament friendly matches?
It's been crazy this year, hasn't it? I feel
So
like
many, dude.
everyone has been playing so many matches. And again, different countries have different priorities heading into this tournament. So, I mean, I know Poland, for example, they're under contract and they have to play these games, for their TV network deal. So, a lot of these countries are being forced. Like maybe they wouldn't play them, but they have to. I think we've rarely played friendly matches heading into VNL. But I think for us in this group, it was good to get down there early and to play two quality friendly matches.
Yeah, especially like all the new guys who haven't seen the ball maybe move at that speed in those
Yeah.
places before, that can do nothing but help. Week 2, you guys have a very cool and unique opportunity to play at home. You're going to play Poland. Unfortunately, that crowd will probably be mostly Polish. You and I have both experienced that one before. But what are you most excited about, and like what can you maybe encourage the American fans about the idea of playing at home here in Chicago?
Well, I mean, I'm just looking for as many to come out as possible and to be as loud as possible, especially on Saturday against Poland. I mean, they've sold out that arena already with
Oh yeah,
probably with mostly with Polish fans. So I don't know. Wear your stars and stripes. Make yourselves known. Yeah, I know the Polish fans will wear a lot of red and white, so do what you can to stick out and be loud. But I'm so excited. I mean, any chance that we can play in the States is great, and I know that I have some family and friends coming, so I'm really excited to be there.
well, Everett and I will certainly be there, and I personally, Eric, I need really good volleyball against Canada that Thursday night.
Yeah, I
I need
know you do.
I
I
need
know
really
you
good
do.
volleyball against Canada that Thursday night. I
They're in a very similar situation to us with
yes, they are. I think that match could be really good for that
some
reason.
young, talented players, and someone like Finn McCarthy who just won Poland. I know he's a threat, especially from the service line. So I have my eye on that match as well, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So am I.
I'm sure Everett is too.
Well, the previous times that we've played USA Canada, went since Everett and I have been working together, it's been in Ottawa. Not anymore.
Not
We're
anymore.
we're on my
I
home turf.
know.
We're on my home turf
I'm
this time.
hoping we can get a decent crowd and take them out.
We will. And speaking of American volleyball, really big news this week in terms of being able to follow the U.S. men's and women's national teams. You can and should, if you're a huge volleyball fan, still pick up a subscription to VBTV because you can watch every single match from every country there live and on demand. But amazing news for just accessibility of the sport in our country for all 12 men's and all 12 women's preliminary round matches. You can see them on TV nationally in the US, either CBS Sports Network or the Big Ten Network. That is so awesome. Eric, your thoughts on just how important that is as like a volleyball fan and an American volleyball ambassador?
Yeah, I mean, so happy. I think the biggest thing for us is just accessibility to the game and people being having eyes on it. I mean, we talk about, women's sports growing and, different sports growing. It's just about people seeing it. And I think that this is a great opportunity for people to just turn on kind of a normal network and see some high level volleyball out there.
Yeah, I mean, on a personal note, a big reason why I'm doing any of this right now is because I stumbled upon the 2009 World League on TV.
Yeah.
After the summer after my freshman year of high school, I turned on a game with Matt Anderson and Sean Rooney and David Lee
Yeah.
and Rich Lamborn and like Paul Sunderland and Kevin Barnett on the call, and like that was hugely influential for me.
Yeah.
Then Eric's Stanford team the following year, that was also
Yeah.
very influential to me. But like it's so cool that more people have that opportunity now. You have to be a pretty diehard volleyball fan to seek out
100%.
VBTV,
Yeah.
and a lot of the people that watch this channel obviously do that. But the
Yeah.
slightly more casual American fan can now have this opportunity, which is just so awesome. So
I totally agree. Rob, before we wrap this up, I really have to use the restroom. I'll be right back.
please go right ahead. Go right ahead. um, those of you who are just watching this video, by the way, and maybe if you're just an American fan, a plug for us at Volleyball Source. You guys need to subscribe to this YouTube channel. We have our weekly podcast, the 9x9, where we're going to be talking about everything VNL. We're going live every Tuesday. So my Canadian colleague Everett Delorme is in Quebec City right now. He's at VNL Week 1 for the men. He was just in Ottawa VNL Week 1 for the women. He's got tons of interviews. You got the baseline highlights from the Italy-Canada scrimmage up from last night. So you got to get that. You got to look through all the stuff that we're doing here on Volleyball Source. And if you're like a super hardcore fan, we have a Discord community, the link for which is in the description. So you want to get in there if you want to join our crazy group of worldwide, typically pretty volleyball knowledgeable people. But also while Eric is away, I need to impart upon the American volleyball fans for this VNL to relax. Relax, y'all. Chill out. The response to what the USA women did, going 1-3 with 4 points down in Brazil last week, the response to us going 0-6 in sets against Italy and Brazil, which was completely expected, was alarming to me about how much people were panicking about the USA results. We told you at the beginning of this video, you have to chill out about the results. This is a development cycle, especially this tournament, because we're hosting the Olympics. You've got to relax about the tournament results. Be patient. Eric, I'm encouraging our fans to not call for Eric Sullivan's firing after losing to the reigning Olympic gold medalists on the women's side, for example. I think that's very important.
Well, I think also for the women, I mean, I keep doing that. Obviously, they have some new people on the roster, but they've also been dealing with some injuries, so it's
Yeah.
just maybe not the product that, I mean, definitely not the results that they want to have, but again, it's okay, everyone.
It is
Like it is okay.
okay.
Yes.
So, Eric, the volleyball fan, I'm taking you out of a USA jersey for a minute.
Okay.
other VNL non-USA storylines or players or anything that you're interested to watch this tournament now that it's 18 teams and it's bigger and better than ever?
Ooh, well, I mean, playing in Poland the last 4 years, I'm always watching the Polish team.
Of course.
They're sending an interesting group to China this week, and that could very well dictate the kind of team that they send to Chicago, from what I understand. So
Oh,
I have
interesting. You
my eyes are on them.
you think that's less preset and more maybe reactionary based on the results of week one?
Um, yes, I
Okay.
do. From what I hear from my sources.
You've got a lot of
Um,
them, especially in that country.
and then I think like this is very 2025, but Bulgaria. I
Mm.
think Bulgaria will be an interesting one.
I wish you guys played
Just
them.
I know, just with the Nikolov brothers and what, you know, Moni was able to do this last year and just grow the sport, I think was awesome. But they're a team to look. I think they're ranked like 18, which probably just doesn't do them very much justice. And let's see. I mean, France has like almost every Olympian on their roster back, so we'll see about them as well. I mean, I
France to
think
me, we talk about
they're the
them a
team to
lot as
beat. I think they're the
they
team to
are.
beat.
They are. I mean, they won the last two Olympics and they've won two out of the last three VNLs. I think the easiest way to stop France is for France themselves to do it for you.
Yeah.
If they play a tournament and really care about it, they're going to be remarkably hard to beat.
Well, from what I understand, they're like really gonna give it their all for World Champs. It's kind of the only tournament they haven't
Mm.
medaled in for that particular group. So I'm interested to see kind of what they're gonna bring from VNL for VNL. Yeah.
Then before we get you out of here, Eric, that you have an open platform. If there's any other like random volleyball things you want to chat about, any random volleyball
Ooh,
stories,
volleyball
club, pro,
stories.
NCAA, like stuff that happened to you this season, like I don't know. We always want to be a place for you to come and talk volleyball, but if you've got
I mean, I
anything on,
love to talk about volleyball, but
we know you do.
you're putting this on me real
I
quick.
am, yeah.
Gosh, I I don't know. I think with that CEV needs to figure out their Champions League a little bit, but
We are right there with you, my friend. We love that competition. You love that competition.
yes,
That
it,
competition needs to be better.
I think. I mean, I sound like so bitter just because I wasn't in it, but I just thought that this year like just wasn't the best product that we could have put out there. But that's just how it goes sometimes. The qualification for it is really interesting, and it just never you never can guarantee that a team is going to be very good the next year after they do well the year before. So I think that kind of um I don't know, it just didn't shape out that well this year. But again, I wasn't in it, so I'm just bitter on the side. But yeah,
Can we
I'm interested to see what we can do about that.
are you allowed to tell us where you're playing next year? Is that public yet?
Um,
You
I'm
don't have
going
to.
I'm going back to Poland. I'm going to a different team. I think I'm supposed to wait a little bit longer.
No problem.
They have red. They have red in their team.
Okay. There are a
Yes.
couple.
People can decide. I mean, it's pretty much out there, but I don't think I'm publicly supposed to say it yet.
Totally fair enough.
Yeah.
Then this this is sad, but can you talk to us a little bit about Grand Canyon and about their program being eliminated in the last couple of weeks? I mean, you jumped in and were very involved when your alma mater Stanford did something similar. Can you just tell us your thoughts on the latest in that situation?
Yeah, I mean, it sucks. And I wish I knew more. But from what I understand, the university has really just, they cut the program and that has been it for a little bit. No communication, no comments on social media, no even chance to open up that door again. And I think that is very, it sucks on the part of the university, obviously, but it also just sucks for men's college volleyball as a whole. We're a pretty vulnerable sport, especially with the way that college athletics is moving forward. And that was not a great step for us, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a tough one. But there are good steps going on. You can watch this VNL on TV in the States. You can come in person in the States and watch the games. And if any of you are sitting on the sidelines, just like waiting for something magical to happen for volleyball, you can be a part of it by uh, going to games and watching the
Yeah.
games and talking about the games and supporting Erik and his team. And this tournament's an amazing place to do that. This VNL is so awesome. I know
Yeah.
everything's new. There are new players. If any of you watched week 1 of women's, which Everett and I are going to talk about in the 9x9 tomorrow, it was electric. It was so much fun. It was so chaotic and unpredictable. It's very entertaining, and I know that the men are going to be real similar, putting on an awesome product all around the world. So it is a good time to be a volleyball fan, we promise.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I mean, I might be a little bit biased, but I do think that the men's volleyball world is better than the women's volleyball world right now,
Oh,
just in terms of
top to bottom, like talent
top
in
to
the VNL,
bottom talent
completely agree.
and the amount of teams that can win and medal, I think is wild. I mean, we saw last year at the Olympics probably 6 teams that could have won gold, maybe 7 or 8. And I think it's just getting more and more deep, and that's really exciting for our sport. And we don't even have Russia in the mix right now, so
What a wild
um,
card that could
that could
possibly
be
be.
moving forward. But yeah, I think any team you watch, it's going to be spectacular, and be patient with service errors because I know a lot of people gripe about that. But
I think people in the NCAA gripe about that a little more, but they'll be pleasantly surprised by the ratios internationally, I think.
yeah, I mean, I would hope that it's a little bit better, but overall, I mean, this sport is fast, it's powerful, it's high flying, it's spectacular, and I think if you watch a couple of men's matches, you'll see it and you'll understand why that so many people love it.
Best place to watch it is in person. So if you're American,
100%.
oh my God, you can't even understand how awesome international volleyball is in person unless you see it. So if you can get to Chicago, do it. Say hi to Erik and me and
Yes,
Everett and
please.
all of us that are there. Erik, thank you so much, man, for your time and for
Of
being
course.
such a great ambassador for volleyball and friend of our channel. I very much hope to see
Thank
you in
you.
Chicago, and we'll
Yes, me as well.
have our annual several interviews with you and all your
We
teammates.
will, we will. But yeah, thanks again for having me on, and thanks for watching, everyone.
Our pleasure. All of Erik's social medias are in the description. He's very popular in lots of different places. So go find him and stick around with us here at Volleyball Stars. We'll be back on the 9x9 tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, I believe is our plan. Everett and I are going to have a lot to talk about. So a lot to look forward to. We'll see you then. Erik, thanks again, man.
Bye, everyone.